Well, I don't have a lot here. I mean, business as usual for the Shockers as we enter the last week, go into a game where, uh, you know, late tip offs, 8 p.m., 7 p.m. on Sunday night. I thought Sunday nights were reserved for NFL football, and then whatever else happens after the season is over. So I've never actually heard of a 7 p.m. game on a Sunday night in the college basketball landscape. Most of them are done by 6. If any of you ever check the NCAA net rankings, are usually up by 6 or 7 just because the 4 o'clock games are done. And so a Sunday night game will be a little different. We've altered the way we practice. We're practicing from 7 to 10 instead of the afternoon schedule, just because we need to be able to perform during that time frame. So it's move into a stretch run here, 2 road games against a Memphis team that's different than what we played here. They just didn't have Sincere Parker, and I think when he comes back, he goes for 40 at Alabama the first time that he's able to step on the floor. So different dynamic, and just really looking forward to today's practice in order to prepare for the week.
And I guess on that, you mentioned Sincere Parker wasn't here in January. He dropped 40 against Birmingham, 20 plus through the last 6 games. I guess, what's the game plan around that?
I don't know. I just you have to be able to contain a guy like that, but sometimes when that match gets lit, it's really, really difficult. And we're one of the top teams in the country at not giving up assisted buckets, and so we kind of put guys a lot on an island and being able to play. So all of that to say, sometimes when guys they're just getting it going, it makes it really, really difficult just because of the way that we construct our defense. I mean, we threw everything but the kitchen sink at Jordan Riley last week and did a number of different things. And again, 37 shot attempts. And 16 of 37 is not the end of the world from a defensive metric number, but it's can you just make them take shots that they may not be efficient in, and at the same time prevent them from getting to the foul line? And so, it'll be interesting, given Sincere Parker and his ability to score. But we're actually one of the better teams in the country. I think we're 12th in the country at not giving up transition points. And I think you kind of have to be able to make sure players like that, they're just not getting easies. And I mean, we're good at in transition defense for a number of reasons, primarily because we're good at offensive glass. So teams are a little hesitant to just leak out. And then at the same time, we don't turn the ball over. We do a good job at having a 15% rate from that. So you have to prevent easies and at the same time try to make sure that they're not getting to the foul line.
Going from a team in Temple who's a little bit slower paced to a team in Memphis who's one of the faster paced in the conference, is that difficult at all? Does it change at all the game plan when it comes to you're going to have more possessions against Memphis than you did on Sunday or Saturday against Temple?
Not really. I mean, I'd be interested. I think it was a 67 possession game here, so that's probably where it's around. They try to generate some via they cause teams to turn it over. They really defend the 3-point line. So they do a variety of things because they really encourage you to pass the ball and get open shots. And are you making them? Are you not? And that's going to come down to a lot of it. But they have some water bugs. Some guys who are just a blur in the open court, which also helps in regards to the tempo. But I think a lot of it has to do with us. Like you've got to be able to handle their pressure, and at the same time, not when they put 2 on the ball, like our guys have to take the right shots. Just because you're open, depends who's open, where are they open, all of those things. So we just need to stay within our strengths.
And then having a guy like TJ who's a ball handler, a guy who's played a lot of guard in his career against a team like Memphis who's going to be up in your face pressuring you, how much does that help having another secondary ball handler?
Helps a ton just because of their pressure. They switch. They'll blitz, pick and roll. Go back and look at that game. Will Berg had 4 assists, and so I think it'll be paramount upon all the people that are in ball handling areas, and sometimes that's going to be your bigs, and sometimes it's going to be TJ. So we just need to stay within our strengths. We don't need non-passers trying to be passers, and we just need to stay within our strengths because they can kind of bait you into making you pretty uncomfortable.
And I remember you saying after the Temple game, TJ's been a part of, like a big part of the last two outcomes. I guess what has he been able to do to impact games?
Yeah, more so his aggressiveness. I just think that he's been assertive. What you've seen is a breakout guy. And, he goes in, this last game, we usually get on him pretty hard about getting suburban rebounds rather than city rebounds. And we call a city rebound anything that you can snatch at the rim with 2 hands. And he's getting city rebounds. And then he's able to break out, and he's putting a lot of pressure. And you need a guy who can rebound and then break out. And hey, we're not deferring necessarily to one of the guards, or we're not deferring to somebody else on EPAs. And I think if you look, the thing that I've been most impressed with is I think those guards do a good job of just getting out and running. And so it's allowed TJ to really have opportunities to, if he can rebound and then break out, it's just most bigs, most people at that position have to throw an outlet pass. So the fact that he can handle it in the open court and that level of aggression from the rebound to the breakout to let's go make the right play aids, right? It's the old Al McGuire quote that the best thing about freshmen is they turn into sophomores. But you're watching a player this late in the year, he looks like he's on sophomore level rather than his freshman level.
Right, and after missing all of last season and then a short amount of time this season with the concussion, do you think he's finally getting back to that form that won him Gatorade Player of the Year?
Yeah, I mean, I can't compare high school kids that he's going against to college guys. I mean, there's a big difference between a 22-year-old and an 18-year-old, and he's not intimidated, and so that's what you need. You just need players whose eyes get bigger. I think any player, and we show them at this actually on film. We really appreciate it when we get close-ups. Is you're going in for a box out, and are you squinting? Because if you are, it's probably an indicator that you don't really want to be involved in this fight. Versus the guys whose eyes actually get bigger. You can see his eyes get bigger. Coached a guy, Quincy Acey. We would show this all the time with Quincy. And when the shot get up, we watched how big his eyes got. And you can watch some guys, the shot goes up and you'll see them squint because they're anticipating the hit. And you can tell that internally they don't really want to do that. It's kind of just fighting against who they are naturally. TJ's eyes has gotten bigger, and I think that when your eyes get bigger, it kind of tells me that you enjoy the moment and you actually enjoy what you're doing in regards to assisting others. But that's what I appreciate about TJ is that what you've seen is internally he possesses the things that are necessary in order to stay aggressive, especially as you enter March.
What do you like from E-Man? The first half, it seemed like he was really engaged, the motor was high, and how much can he impact games when he's playing like that?
Yeah, I mean his offensive rebound, he's got a quick twitch off the floor. I bet I go back to the Klay Thompson, catch to release is .39, and it's the best in the NBA. Back in Klay Thompson's Golden State, I wish they had a way in order to gauge second jump landing on the floor and then being able to elevate and how high can you get, because he would be amongst the leaders in our conference. But I just thought his twitch was a lot better. I thought his reaction time was a lot better, and him being able to go snag balls. We've got to get him to do a better job of tapping out because you may not always be able to retrieve them, but you can tap them out in order for one of our guards to be able to run them down. But I just think his twitch and his reaction time are a lot better than what they were, let's say, a month ago. And some of that's just knowing where to be. There is a play. He's posting up there in the first half, and he rolls out of the post up and gets to the weak side in order to grab a two-hand rebound. It's that, right? It's the ball's on the left wing. You're posting up. A lot of guys on the left block. Ball gets shot on the left wing. They'll just stay with the post up and stay on the left side. He turns around, rolls out of it, gets to the weak side block, and is able to snag a rebound. So I just think his motor's a little bit better, and his reaction of just understanding what's occurring on the court is getting better.
KG, he's on pace to break a three-point record here at Wichita State, and then, you coached Colby Rogers, who did break the record. I guess what's the feeling like as a coach, seeing guys, rewrite history here at Wichita State?
Long history. It's been able to coach a number of guys who've been able to set 3-point records and just haven't been around it. And, whether at previous stops, you just realize that, man, this isn't like they were around non-players. Like, I mean, there was a tradition here long before this player ever showed up. And that whole idea that you can catapult yourself to one of the better players in a history, something that I think those guys will always remember. And from a coaching perspective, you don't really think about it. My staff brings it up, and they show me little graphics and look at this at previous stops, and look at that, and how we've been able to help players. But I do think the thing from a coaching perspective, that all you ever want to do is help your guys. Like that's all I've ever wanted to do is, man, you know what? They don't have a lot in common with a guy my age, but we do have this 12-ounce rubber ball, and it allows us to invest in them as people. And so when you watch things materialize for them, you're really, really happy for them. But from a coaching perspective, I'm just happy to help. Like, I don't make a shot. And are we putting those guys in a position to succeed? And you've heard me say this. The only question I ask at the end of every single year, regardless of in this NIL era of what players do, is like, did we do right by that kid? Like, did we do right by him? And so I take tremendous pride in knowing, you know what, we treated that kid the right way. That kid grew, and he got better during his time here. And that's where you go back and you assess the game, but you evaluate the year, and that's kind of how I evaluate everything at the end of the year. But you don't kind of do it in the middle of it.
You talked a lot about not being compatible with people who are pessimistic or just don't have super optimism. How much do you think just having that from the top down helped, kind of get this thing turned, stay the course? You guys are 8-2 the last 10. Just having that idea, from the top down. How much do you think that helped you guys kind of stay the course and start playing really good basketball now?
I mean, I think it's important for everybody in the room. Like, I mean, I go back to, if teams aren't showing you your weaknesses, you can get pretty complacent. Like, there were some weaknesses that were exposed against Florida Atlantic, and so sitting there having to take, at one point, what was a 29-point beating, and you turn around and you go back to your guys, and KG, it's a game where he only got 5 shots. We turned around, traveled the next day, went to South Florida, and we practiced that night. And didn't practice long, but we just said, here are the things that we need to do. And I know people don't like it, going through difficult experiences, but, James, the brother of Jesus, says this: consider it all joy when you undergo trials, because it produces something. And I've always thought about that, right? The trials aren't fun. Nobody's telling you that the trials are fun, but you have to think about the adversity in a way that, how do we get something from this in order to produce something later? And I thought our team, was able, on account of Florida Atlantic, we were able to, man, you know what? We got exposed. We had a number of weaknesses. We didn't approach and handle it well. All right, let's flip the script here. And, you know, we jump out to 30 to 15 on South Florida. And it was like, man, that, you know what? I think when you see a group respond that well, so I don't know that, you know, optimism from our staff. We believe in our guys. We believe in who they are, but I don't think you can believe in them and then one game when it doesn't go well not believe in them because that tells me you don't actually believe in them during difficult times. What we needed to do was, do we understand how to respond? Right? You cannot live under this cloud of doom. Because something bad happened to you. Like, what can we take from this and then move on? So, call it what you want, call it optimism, but it's a tribute to our players and just how quickly they can respond in situations like that. And it's why you kind of bring that level of character into the room. There is a talent level, but there's an enthusiasm that's required from your players as well, because the Eeyores of the world, you may not know that reference, but the Eeyores of the world who just, you know, hang their heads and they pout and they cry and this is the situation, oh, look how bad it is. You're just not going to get anywhere. And you need to understand that, man, these trials, they produce something. And what James talks about is it produces endurance. And so I just think that when you have a group like that who responds the right way and you see it immediately, you take tremendous, you have hope on account of the character in the room.
What is it about this group that might be, I don't want to force you to compare, you know, your first two teams, but like what is kind of different about this group that's kind of, you know, set them apart and, you know, you guys are in a championship hunt, playing good basketball. What is it maybe a little bit different about this group of players, just like their makeup, I guess, that kind of stands out to you?
Well, one of the things that's different, right? And I mean, when you go into a first year job, you realize that there's a number of those players in that room who did not sign up for you. And, you know, I can recall one of our GAs telling us when he came back year two, he says, you're getting less eye rolls than you had in the previous years. By the time you get to year two, probably in this era, those kids, they know what they're getting into. And then now it's like, all right, do we have the caliber and of talent? Do we have the character that's necessary? And I think from a coaching perspective, you have to go through the league. You have to understand, like, this is the caliber of talent that's required in order to even be competitive. So I think all of those things, you know, with last year's group, I mean, when Ronnie DeGray went down, I just thought his level of versatility just provided so much value, and he's able to kind of get his feet back under him, and then we were able to run off some games and get back to 500 in the league. But I think you understand the depth that's required so you don't find yourself in a situation like that where, man, one guy can really tilt this. And so I think for us, we understood the caliber of talent that's required. And then by the same token, you just have guys in the room in this era that, you know what, they signed up for you and they kind of understand what it is and what's going on. So it's, again, nothing against that first group. We just weren't very good, and you don't know that when you first start out because you're just unfamiliar with everybody else in the league.
And is there a difference when you're in a hunt? You guys are playing, you know, a really good basketball in February. Is there a difference to just like the joy or like the edge that guys bring to practice? Like, are practices different now compared to, you know, season past, just because where you guys are in the standings and everything that's in front of you?
No, so simply because I think we've been pretty good in February and March. I mean, even that first year, we were able to win some games late. I know last year we were 7-7, dropped 3 of our last 4, but I mean, you go back to that North Texas game at North Texas. I mean, we're a call away. I mean, they call us for fouling a 3-point shooter, and I mean that we have a shot in order to not only tie, but to even take a lead there. So, you win at Rice, Tulsa. We weren't very good here, UAB, when we played them here. So some of this is just schedule formation, but. I thought we were good when we played South Florida. We shot it really well, and we ended up losing a 2-point game to Memphis in the conference tournament. But all that to say, I think as the year has progressed, we've gotten better. It does help that players know what's in front of them. I mean, we've got one player in the room who played on an NCAA tournament team in Will Berg, and the rest of those guys haven't. So they've had to listen to us about what, a game for March actually looks like in order to translate. But I think everybody is excited about that chase. Thanks, guys.